Well, let's roll into the Mandalorian.
Yeah, so we talked about this because we said let's put Mandalorian on its own platform because let's start with me from the beginning. For me, I mean, you know this. I've been a Star Wars. I wouldn't say I was a Star Wars fan. I thought Star Wars was cool, question mark, kinda. But I never really got into it, right? It was mainly like, cool. I saw like episode, like the newer ones. I thought they were alright. I didn't really like the old ones because of the CGI, and then there's a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna get into this movie. And then I saw the Rey series, and I was like, ooh, this is kind of rough. And then there was a little glimpse of hope with Rogue One. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And maybe it was because it wasn't about the Skywalker series that I'm like, it's the universe. This is supposed to be in space, and you're only focusing on one family. You know, how much character development do you need? But I saw Mandalorian, right? And from the beginning of the show, the opening scene, I was like, okay, I want to see this.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, it's been a whole different ride as far as the show, and then the later season. So the most recent season that came out, it has a whole background universe that is already existing from the shows, the animated series, the shows, and
Rebels and Clone Wars,
and some of the movies references, which then made me want to go back and look at those shows and watch the movies again. That I was like, oh, okay, I can appreciate this a little bit more, you know. And then I also was mad to the Rey saga, you know, episode 7, 8, or whatever that came out. That I was like,
trash.
Oh, they screwed Luke.
There's a lot of redeeming qualities about The Force Awakens for me. I still like that movie.
Well, you like it because it was new, and then it was,
and we hadn't had Star Wars in a long time.
Exactly. So you were hungry.
And I got those feels from it, but it has rewatchability. I still like The Force Awakens.
But
The Last Jedi and the Skywalker, like,
I mean, even the
trash.
Main lightsaber fight that Rey had with Kylo, I'm like, man, I seen some guys in their backyards that have way better lightsaber fights than that one. But
LARPing.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like the Mandalorian really put an interest and an asterisk on Star Wars, and I feel like what they're doing over at Disney is what's it called, really good.
Specifically Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Yeah, I was about to say.
They're the saviors of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, specifically, Dave Filoni, who...
And Jon Favreau.
Moving
forward, Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, whatever, step aside. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni need to take over the Star Wars universe and just be head over it like Kevin Feige was over the MCU.
Yeah, I was about to actually say that Kevin Feige, what he did for the MCU, and what Dave Filoni had and Jon Favreau, which technically Jon Favreau also played a big, huge, not a big.
He started it.
He started the MCU right with Iron Man. So jinx. Yeah, I feel like what these guys, you put someone that is a nerd and someone that loves this universe in charge of it, and somehow the sex, what was it called?
Not just loves it, but they respect it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I learned a lot about Dave Filoni. He respects Star Wars. Right, he thought a lot about what was the other. I forgot this. The guy, the first director, Empire Strikes Back director.
Oh, George Lucas.
Dave Filoni respected the ish out of George Lucas.
Yeah, the sugar honey iced tea out of George Lucas.
Yeah, so like you have someone at that level that's willing to put in the work, that executives are willing to listen to, invest in their people, I'm like, that's what brings the good universe, right? And I think that's what maybe
and they put in the deep, rich lore of Star Wars into the Mandalorian. There's heart to it. Like it's just the pounding heartbeat of what Star Wars is like in every episode.
Except for the frog lady.
Yeah, you had a problem with that, but
one little thing, it brushed through the. I mean, every episode for me was just straight juice, like straight steak, and like you get the meat and potatoes out of it. You know, I feel like they can't waste any second, and like I feel like for me going into something that I didn't really like in the past, I'm like, that's something I want to watch. Also something I want to know more about, and I think that's what.
And have you caught any episodes of Rebels? Because they introduced Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
And the Clone Wars, and the implications of them name dropping Grand Admiral Thrawn from Rebels. Ezra still out there with Grand Admiral Thrawn, so Ezra Bridger is a good chance that somehow could come up in the third season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, like I don't think
which is really cool.
I mean, I don't think for me, like any of the Star Wars movies spin-offs were anything that I was like, I need to watch this. You know, like Solo, literally the only reason I watched it was for Daniel Glover. Right? Like Childish Gambino, I was like, I have to watch this just because of him. Did I like it? No. But now with like what Mandalorian has done and like bring these Rebels characters into this, I'm like, I'm down. Give me a spinoff. I'm willing to watch this.
Boba Fett and doing it right.
Yeah, like and there's so much potential right now.
And then obviously,
what?
The grand finale. Luke Skywalker. They finally redeemed him.
Yeah,
and did him right.
Kinda.
No, and man.
The only thing I want to pick was the CGI. The CGI.
Forgiven. You gave me the action of Luke Skywalker, what he's capable of in his prime.
100%.
Every Star Wars fan has been wanting this for 30 years.
I mean, yeah, I think watching Luke fight in that show was like, oh, okay, that's why I want to go back and watch these movies. How bad was he? How much of a badass was he in those movies? So that's the reason why.
Like, what's his story arc to be able to get to that level?
Yeah,
like his trials and tribulations that he had to go through to become a Jedi.
Yeah, so
and become a master Jedi.
Again, the small little nitpick, it won't stop me from wanting to know more. Watching it was and just loving the CGI. Was the CGI that was the only thing. I'm like,
forgiven.
I wouldn't have cared if they used an actor that didn't look exactly like him. I wouldn't have cared. The CGI just for me, I'm always about the CGI. If it takes me out of the movie, like for me, that's the one thing I pay attention to a lot.
It's an uncanny valley doing CGI of a face. Like, because certain movements of the face, like when you do a full CGI character, it's like watching a video game. But the other thing is that there's something uncanny about looking at a CGI character versus looking at a human being and the facial expressions. They don't have it where they can pull that facial expression, and that's why it takes you out.
Which brings me to a question about that, which, again, we love Mandalorian. Why didn't they de-age Mark Hamill? They de-aged people in, like, in MCU already. Tony Stark, the Ant-Man, Hank Pym, and they did it great. I was sold in that.
Remember that this is a TV show.
Yeah.
And they don't have the movie budget to de-age. So they're working on a shoestring budget to put this together. But it's 8 Disney. Episodes.
It's Disney.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're still on a budget.
I mean,
and you can only do so much with that.
If the executives knew that this show was the reason, I'm sure I'm not the only one. This show is the reason why they're going back and rewatching movies and keeping Disney Plus alive. I'm sure they could afford to put a little bit more
and
money.
how much traffic the Mandalorian has brought them.
Yeah,
But they didn't expect it to do gangbusters like it's doing, because when the first season of The Mandalorian dropped, they didn't even have merch for Baby Yoda.
yeah.
Which was a huge fail because
They just came out with it.
everyone wanted merch from Baby Yoda. So this wasn't thought up about how significant and how gangbusters Grogu was going to be. Still call him Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Whatever. Grogu. Was going to be, and how popular The Mandalorian was going to be, because they didn't even have merch available.
Yeah.
So that was a fail on Disney's part to recognize how special The Mandalorian was going to be for Star Wars fans.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this was because of Kevin Feige or what exactly happened, but I feel like I watched the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, and Kevin Feige, was it Kevin Feige? Mm-hmm. Or no,
Dave Filoni and
John
Favreau?
Dave Filoni and John Favreau work really hard to get new technology into the show. So they have this thing called the volume, which is pretty much... Remember
they use gaming technology to map this huge LED screen that's like 270 degrees, and then it has a roof of LEDs screens, and then the cameras in there are mapping the room, this volume,
in real time,
like you would map a virtual reality space for a video game.
Yeah.
So they're able to do things that you can't normally do, and shoot things that you can't normally shoot unless you're on site. So they literally, probably 90 or 85% of The Mandalorian is shoot in this volume and not shot on location.
Which also says a lot about VR, but that's a whole different topic. But I think a lot of their budget, and again, I'm not mad about it, about the whole Luke Skywalker thing. It took me out a little bit. But I think a lot of their money was going into investment into that new technology. 100%. A lot of the stuff. I mean, Baby Yoda is a whole like mechanical puppet. Like, I'm sure all these things aren't cheap. And I feel like, but those things are probably invested already. In which the next season they might have a better not better actor. They might have an actor playing Luke Skywalker. They might have better CGI. I mean, they might have more of a budget to play with Luke, right? And I just love the show. Give us more.
Yes, please.
More
Dave Filoni, more Jon Favreau.
Yup.
In charge.